Welcome, everybody. Woo! I like that. Enthusiasm. We've got a small crowd tonight, so we need that. We're going to rely on you two guys to ask the tough questions. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming by. My name is Nick Aster. I'm the founder and publisher of TriplePundit.com. Anybody not heard? Has anybody not heard of us? Look at that. I don't even need to say anything. Well, if you're just being polite, we're an online publication focused on sustainability in business. This is our monthly Stories and Beer event. This is an event where we bring the community together to talk about an important issue. Sometimes it's something that we're covering, sometimes it's something timely in the news, sometimes it's just a great big issue that really matters. Tonight I'm really excited to have two distinguished folks join us this evening. And the subject tonight we're going to be talking about is sports, and specifically the Super Bowl, which is coming up in, well, it's coming up in January in Phoenix, but it's coming up most importantly in our own backyard in Santa Clara, the 50th Super Bowl, which is going to be hosted at Levi Stadium in 2016. So just so you guys know a little bit about the format tonight, the way this usually works is we hang out here for about an hour. My job is to kind of get the conversation rolling, ask a few basic questions, get these two talking, but then I turn the questions over to you. So it's your guys' job to start coming up with some intelligent things, and the intent here is to really have a conversation, tell some stories, and hopefully we're going to learn something and walk out of here with some new ideas. In the meantime, feel free to help yourself to some beer. We've also got some wine, which is graciously brought to us by the Sonoma County wine growers. We can learn a little bit about that wine. Sustainable wine, mind you. I'll ask you what makes it sustainable at some point. But lest I ramble tonight, joining me is Neill Duffy. Neill has a long history of working with major sporting events, among other things. In particular, you were instrumental in the sustainability efforts for the America's Cup, which took place last year here in San Francisco, and now you are chairing the sustainability side of the Super Bowl host committee and for the Super Bowl number 50. And then Carissa Cruz, you were with the Sonoma County Wine Growers Association, and we'll ask you a little bit about what the connection is between you and the Super Bowl. First things first, if you guys could just give us a real quick introduction, nothing too long. Tell us a little bit about just who you are, and then we'll jump right into it.
Oh, I'm going first. I got 2 mics. I guess I'm definitely going first. Hi, I'm Carissa Cruz. I run the Sonoma County Wine Grape Commission. So I work on behalf of the 1,800 grape growers that are up in northern Marin and Sonoma County. And why I'm here in the sustainability world is Sonoma County made a big commitment last January to be the first wine region in the U.S. that's 100% certified sustainable. So we are on a 5-year march to sustainability and very much care about sort of the whole impact on our environment and our business, and really hope that folks appreciate sustainable grown grapes and sustainable made wine. And we have a very unique partnership that we can talk about after Neill introduces himself.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So my name is Neill Duffy. As you can hear from my accent, I don't come from California. I've been here for about 4 years. I actually moved to the West Coast from Europe, and before that from South Africa, where I spent many years growing up. I was born in Zimbabwe, so I've been around the world and I have an Irish passport. So I'm a pretty complex guy. But I've spent my career working in the sports marketing business. I guess about 10 years ago, I started to question the business model that was being applied not only in sport but in big business generally. Started to question the growth model, and started to think that maybe there's a different way of doing things. Fast forward to where we are today, and as Nick said, I spend my time working with major sports properties to help them embrace sustainability in its holistic sense, so social, environmental, and economic. To help major sports properties embrace sustainability as a strategic business driver by showing them that it's not only the right thing to do, but it's also good business. And so I'm really excited to have the opportunity to work on Super Bowl 50. It's going to be an amazing event. I guess we'll get a chance to talk about it over the next hour. But we're hoping, I think, to set a new standard in terms of how major sports events, embrace sustainability, engage with fans, engage with sponsors, leave a lasting positive legacy out of the work that we do. And it's a really exciting space. It's starting to grow up, starting to catch up with mainstream business, and I can't think of a better space to be spending our time in.
Great. So one of the things that, we talk about a lot of different industries all the time, and we get really excited about talking about sports. Some of it's sort of obvious. The sporting event has a major footprint. You get thousands of people in one place. You generate a lot of waste. You use a lot of energy. You get all kinds of transportation issues, and that's a big, important part of this conversation that I'd love to hear a little bit more about. But what really gets me excited is the power of sport as a communications vehicle. There's literally nothing short of religion, literally nothing, that gets that many people gathered. I mean, 1 billion people watch the Super Bowl, and 1 billion people watch the World Cup, and so on and so forth. There's nothing short of religion that gets that many people to sit, pay attention to something, gather around something that they mutually get excited about. So my real question, and we'll do a little split question here really, tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that, and how the Super Bowl, and specifically what you're doing coming up, like the 50th anniversary, has to do with all of that, and just go into it and tell us. And then from your perspective, I'm curious what your role is, and what, walk back and tell us a little bit about the basics about how the partnership began. But you guys are a big force around here, a big community player, a big piece of the economy. So you can answer it as you like.
Okay, thanks, Nick. So to answer the first part of your question, the value of sport as a communication platform, as a way of engaging with people. If you look at the industry generally, from a sort of generic perspective, the sports sponsorship sector has grown year on year for the last 40 years. Brands spend money at an increasing rate in sponsorship, despite the fact that there's been a major shift in how brands and sponsors spend their money on other types of communication engagement. Sponsorship has continued to grow year on year, and the numbers are astounding. Why is that? Simple answer, because it works. And if you look back over time, when the tobacco companies were still allowed to advertise, where do they spend the majority of their money? On sponsorship, because it was a great way to build brand awareness and to sell their stuff. Let's put aside whether they were selling good stuff or bad stuff. It was a really effective platform for them. The alcohol companies have done the same, the beer companies, the banks have done the same, all these brands of all these sectors of interesting background. And what we're seeing happening is that phenomenon just continues to grow. So sport is a really effective way, in a very cost-effective manner, of engaging with a lot of people in an environment where they're very passionate. They're following sport because they care about it, because they want to be there, they're interested in what's happening. And so that's a great environment for a marketer to be able to engage with their customers. And so that's why sponsorship is such, and sport is the biggest chunk of the sponsorship spend, why that's so successful. So if we carry that forward now to why we're here today and to talk about sustainability. If brands and marketers can use sport to market things like tobacco, why can't we use it as a platform to market good things like sustainability? And so that's the question that an increasing number of us are starting to ask who work in the space right now. And what bigger and better platform, certainly from the US perspective, to do that than the Super Bowl. It's the most watched TV event in the country across all genres. 110 million people will tune in on Super Bowl Sunday. As we were talking about earlier, that's like a third of the population will be watching that game on Super Bowl Sunday. But really interesting that many of those will be engaged in the conversation leading up to Super Bowl, and some of them will be engaged in the conversation after Super Bowl. So that's the starting point for all of this. So when we were thinking through how we could position our pitch or our bid for Super Bowl 50 as being different to what had gone before, and really a standout proposition for the NFL to make it easy for them to choose San Francisco in a competitive bidding situation, sustainability was one of the pillars that we decided to build the bid on. And we were successful. The NFL began here in February of 2016, which is really exciting. And we've taken a decision to put on a Super Bowl, which will really redefine the way in which Super Bowls are staged. Really, we've had 50 great years of Super Bowl. We'd like to try and set the stage for how the next 50 years look. And living in the Bay Area and being from the Bay Area, we have a license to do that because we do that kind of stuff here. We're innovative, we set new trends, so why not do it in the space of sustainable sport? Fast forward to where we are today, and where we've ended up is that we've decided to embrace this concept of being a net positive Super Bowl. And for us, being net positive is about going beyond just doing less bad. A lot of brands today think that being sustainable is just about doing less bad. Okay? But we don't think it's about that. We think it's about actively looking for ways to do good and to use the Super Bowl as a platform to make a real positive difference in the Bay Area. So for us, net positive is about going beyond just doing less bad, actively looking for ways to do good, and also to do so beyond the footprint of what would normally be expected of a Super Bowl host committee. So it's not called the San Francisco Bay Area Super Bowl 50 by mistake. That's a conscious decision that we took to really make this an event that embraces the whole of the Bay Area community. It's not just San Francisco, it's not just Santa Clara, it's the whole Bay Area community that we want to benefit from this. So that's what net positive means for us. Very importantly, we look at it across a screen of social, environmental, and economic impact. So it's not just about being green, it's not just about being socially conscious, it's about being socially, environmentally, and economically sustainable in a net positive way. There are four pillars to the strategy. The first is to reduce our impact on climate change, with a focus really on delivering a low carbon event. We can go into the detail of these things if you want in a while. The second pillar is to, and I'm getting to the answer to your question. The second part is also an operational issue, which is about responsibly using materials and resources, with a focus on food, water, and waste. The third pillar, which is the answer to your question, is how do we use what's probably the biggest asset that the Super Bowl has to offer, being its ability to engage with a lot of people in a positive way. And so the third pillar is to focus on inspiring as many of the fans as possible to embrace a sustainable future in some shape or form. Okay? Whether that be the 70,000 people attending the game, the 1 million people attending the fan experience during the week leading up to the event, the 7 million Bay Area residents, or the 110 million people watching on Super Bowl Sunday leading up to it. What can we do to inspire them to embrace a sustainable future by setting an example? And then the final piece is a commitment to be the most giving Super Bowl ever. 25% of all the sponsorship that we raise will go to a fund called the 50 Fund that will be used to support local Bay Area non-profits addressing social and environmental impacts in the Bay Area. So that's the kind of what we're doing. We're going to use sport, just like other brands have used sport to build their brands, to deliver an amazing event that will set a new standard and in the process inspire the fans to adopt sustainability just like they have the other products that they've been adopting through the no-matter where through sport.
We'll get into the details. Do you remember the question?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to start maybe flipping it and saying why Sonoma County wanted to step up and make a commitment to sustainability, and then I'll talk about why that aligns so well with this partnership that we have. So I think very similar when you looked at the Super Bowl and said there's, as it comes here, 49 years of history that will be before you on the 50th year, and you want it to endure, the sport to endure, the big game to endure. We felt that same way in Sonoma County. First vineyards were planted in 1812 up in Sonoma County. We have some multi-generational, 6th, 7th generation grape growers. However, the environment continues to change, regulatory pressure, environmental pressure, droughts, Mother Nature giving us gifts or not giving us gifts every harvest. And so we really said, what can we do? What do we need to do as grape growers in Sonoma County, working with our winery partners to ensure that our vineyards and agriculture is still in our county 100 years from now? So how do we preserve agriculture? And as we looked at that and said, what are those big things that we need to do to preserve agriculture? Sustainability is sort of the answer for what we don't want to do, and also the answer for what we do want to do if we use sustainability as a lens for our decision making. And very much aligned with your approach of it has to be triple bottom line, it has to be economically viable, it has to be looking at your impact on the environment. And also for us, especially when we deal with issues of labor and being a good neighbor, having trucks on our and lights in the middle of the night, trucking grapes out for a night harvest because it's actually more energy efficient and it's easier on the workforce that's out there. But those are considerations that we do because they make sense from a sustainability perspective. So then it was a matter of really rallying growers and wineries to say, this is something that really fits the culture of Sonoma County and something we should be proud of owning and really commit to doing, and part of that is always improving. And so I think we're kind of entering in the middle where everyone up there, growers and wineries, are doing things that are already sustainable. So now it's understanding how do we continue to improve and really start to measure ourselves and be accountable for that decision making moving forward. So then I'll get to I'll start with our level of sort of partnership because the Super Bowl host committee came. The Sonoma County Wine Growers have a really great partnership with Sonoma County Vintners and Sonoma County Tourism. We're nicknamed the Trio in Sonoma County for fun, but we work together on a lot of initiatives that make sense for our county. And when we were approached by the Super Bowl host committee, they said, you know what, the Super Bowl is going to represent the North Bay and all of kind of the Northern California, the best we have to offer. And the wine country is part of that fabric, part of that landscape. And they reached out and said, would you be willing to be a sponsor, to be a partner, a destination partner here, both now leading up to the Super Bowl game. And we were really excited to do that. One, it made sense to connect with all these folks. But then when it really came down to one of the key objectives, both from a getting back the legacy of giving, which is really important in our county and for our organizations, but secondly, this whole notion of sustainability and we deal with those same issues of our carbon footprint and transportation and energy efficiency, just like you are going to be dealing with and building up to. So there's so many synergies. But most exciting is that notion of engaging the fan, and I think that's what we're really excited about. There's been this food movement, local food, right? Know where your food comes from. I want to know that my bacon came from that pig, and I'm eating beef from that cow, from that farm, and my cheese is from that goat. Now we want consumers to want to ask that question and engage in the conversation about where do my grapes come from? What's in that bottle of wine? What vineyard, on what vine row, how was that produced, what was done, who are the workers that picked those grapes? We want consumers to feel that engaged with what we're producing because we're really proud of it. And so there was such a nice synergy. So we are really thrilled to be aligned with something that ignites consumers all over the country, building up in that day and sharing that message of sustainability in general. So it's a very nice partnership across the board.
Good stuff. So back to that message about sustainability, you talk about a lot of the movement that folks are getting a little bit more engaged, but all of that notwithstanding is the assumptions generally that most people, certainly when we go to the Super Bowl, sustainability is probably not top of mind. The average quote unquote consumer, hate that word, but we'll use it, right? Doesn't have sustainability top of mind. Maybe they never will, I don't know. How do you walk that line? And this is from both of your perspectives, actually. There's an interesting two-percent opinion, right? Because what do you walk that line between, this educational role the potential that you have to play through this event, and doing it too much, beating people over the head too much where it turns them off, right? And in the wine industry, this has probably been around for a long time. There's a lot of wineries that are doing really, really great work, but they kind of tend to keep it to themselves. They don't stick it all over the bottle because they're afraid they'll actually get, an indifferent or even negative reaction to it. People still have stereotypes that organic wine isn't high quality and things like that. How do you handle that, or am I wrong? Are we really turning the tide in terms of people's desires for all of this?
Yeah, I think it's a really good and very relevant question. I think from a sports perspective, I think timing is everything. I think you have to pick the timing or pick the opportunities. Pick your opportunities carefully to engage with people on this messaging. So, when it's the fourth quarter and there's a minute to go and the score's equal, it's probably not a good time to be leading people over the head with a sustainability message. But there are other opportunities during the 12 months leading up to the event where it is appropriate because people are just kind of in the zone around Super Bowl and excited about it, and so receptive to messages. And so I think timing is important. I think relevance is the other thing. So if you can show people that they're actually able to enhance their experience or their enjoyment of the Super Bowl experience in this case as a result of something being done in a sustainable way, I think there's a good messaging opportunity there. I use an example from the America's Cup that I beat to death, and some of you probably heard it before, but was a ban on single-use water bottles on all property, which was an interesting challenge considering that we normally sell a lot of single-use water bottles at an event like that. But we were able to turn it on its head, get a partnership in place with Clean Canteen, who came on board specifically to use the opportunity to message the responsible replacement of single-use water bottles through the event.
And people actually loved that, didn't they? I mean, let's go lining up for those.
They really did. So we provided free water drinking stations. People could buy their Clean Canteen reusable container, which was branded America's Cup, so it became a bit of memorabilia. And I won't mention any names, but a major brand who happened to be attending the event just as a spectator saw this happening, was really interested about it, went up and participated, went back to their office, called Clean Canteen and ordered 1 million reusable containers as a result of the inspiration that came out of America's Cup. So those two things, I think timing, relevance, and I think the one thing that a major sports event can do really well is inspire people. If the Super Bowl can do it, then anybody can do it. And if you're tasteful about how you message it, and respectful of people's priorities, I think there's an opportunity to use the event as a platform to inspire people to behave differently.
And wine, I mean, tell us your perspective. I got to buy a bottle of wine. It's actually not that easy for me to find, a wine that I has some high sustainability credentials. And by the way, it's your opportunity to tell us a little about what you brought here tonight as well.
Sure. That is interesting. I mean, I think not that folks have hidden behind it, but I think a lot of the growers and the winemakers that we work with, thinking about all the things that go into making a bottle of wine, and for us, the program that we work with is called the California Code of Sustainability, and it's 138 different assessments you do on your vineyard, from your business to your environmental impact to how you work with your employees and your neighbors, your community. In wineries, it's 103 assessments in terms of your procurement. Where did your bottles come from? Where your corks come from? Did they come on a boat? Did they come on a truck? I mean, there's all of these decision points. So to figure out how to summarize that, all of those decision points, that lens to consumer, and similarly say, hey, aren't you just enjoying the wine you're drinking? Do you really care when you pour that glass of wine and you're kicking it back with friends and you're pairing it with that perfect salmon that you made for dinner? At that point, are you thinking sustainability? Do we want to break into that moment with you? And that really was a question. We want to answer for you specifically. But I think that was a really important decision. So we started by stepping back, and we just launched a national consumer advertising campaign in Food and Wine, and Spectator, Wine Enthusiast, to start educating consumers on just the basics of what sustainability in the vineyard, because if you don't have sustainable grapes, you can't have sustainable wine. So it really started with the growers in Sonoma County, this big initiative, to really start to educate. So we pulled these assessments right out of this code of sustainability. It's complicated. Some of them are complicated formulas. We put them in an app. It just said employee development, vine balance, habitat, and it's kind of breaking through in a Food and Wine magazine when you see these really pretty pictures of food and beautiful bottles of wine, and instead you have something called like predator habitats in the page. So we're hoping it gets noticed, and it tells consumers that sustainability in agriculture and winemaking is real. I think that's where we have to start. And I think what's been great, again, in this partnership with the Super Bowl is that it's coming in an unexpected place. And I think that's where you can get attention, right? It's because all of us here that are here talking and listening to it, we're already in, right? We're here because we appreciate it. We're probably already doing a lot of these things in our own life. We're walking the talk. But there are a lot of folks out there that don't even know where to start. So when you meet them where they're at, which is something the Super Bowl is going to do so nicely, it's going to be in their home, right? In their comfort zone, where they can be doing what they normally do, and if you just get them to pause for a minute and do one thing different, you make a huge impact. And I think ultimately that's what you're looking to do, and why those values so align with growers. Because we were talking about this earlier, great growers in the Super Bowl, not a natural partnership, but I think that's what's the beauty of sustainability. Is it together with this common goal and to create a common dialogue, the things that really matter to all of us in the end, and probably some things we didn't even know matter to us. So it's really fun, and again, we so respect. This conversation for my growers, like, oh, we're in the Super Bowl. Okay, what's everyone? I have a 22-person board of directors, and 18 are men. So when I mentioned we could partner with the Super Bowl after they all got done and talking about can we go, do we get to go, this is amazing, football, all of that. Then it was like, well, does it make business sense, right? So in fact, everything has to make business sense as you run an organization. And so once we calmed down, the cheering stopped, and we had the realistic conversation, is this a good partnership for great growers in Sonoma County, Super Bowl 50 in Santa Clara? Okay, let's go down the path, but really it was a sustainability objective that said, this is a group aligned with what we want, and they want to talk to consumers in a way that matters, that we can relate to, and if we can really encourage, I know a big part of your conversation was around sustainable food and sustainable beverages as being one of your sort of pushes, and like that, I think that's we want to be part of that conversation, so.
Terrific. So it's just about time for you guys to start rolling this conversation, but we want to know.
The wines.
We took the wines, yeah. Well, tell us that, and then we want to know some details. So not all details. Tell us about the wines and give us like the 2 or 3 big things that are speaking to you in terms of what you're doing with this partnership and with this huge event that's coming up that you think are going to have real big impact, real big measurable impact in terms of sustainability.
Okay, I'll quickly talk about the wines because it's so fun. So we were just digging in our wine cabinet today, and I wanted to bring 3 wines that actually the grapes are grown sustainably, the wine is made sustainably and certified. So again, there's these programs, and when we say certified, there's a third-party auditor, not us, not me, not the grower, not the winemaker, not the winery owner that comes out and certifies that you're actually doing these things. So you fill out this assessment, and then you actually get validated that yes, you are doing what you say you're doing. Here's the proof. I walked the vineyard, I walked the line. And so I brought with me 3 wines that are actually gone through both the sustainable grapes and sustainable winemaking process. And so it was Boleto Vineyards, St. Francis wine, and also the Davis Bynum. So 3 fantastic wines from around our county, so out representing kind of our Sonoma Valley area, if you're familiar with sort of the different parts of Sonoma County, as well as our Russian River Valley area. And so growers and winemakers, I'm really proud that have stepped up and committed to the process all the way through.
And who's the authority that defines that process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So about 10 years ago, the Wine Institute and the California Association of Wine Grape Growers, so kind of my state organization, got together with researchers from UC Davis, from top winemakers, growers, other fish and wildlife, got all the regulatory groups got together and said, what are the things we need to do? What things should we look at from an environmental standpoint, an economic standpoint, and a social equity standpoint in the vineyards, on the wineries, to be considered sustainable. So we're now in our 3rd iteration of what is a collective of all of those sort of experts on this process. And then there's actually, so it's, there's a book Robert's holding right now that you can see. So that's the binder. That's called it's now online too. So there's this big binder that you go through to do your assessments. Also online. And then the 3rd-party folks most of them are environmental studies backgrounds, and they apply. They go through a rigorous application, and then they go through a rigorous training if they're accepted to become an auditor. And they do that on the 3rd party. So we have a list of folks that can come and audit us.
Excellent. Okay, so 2 or 3 big things. What do we got to look forward to?
So the first thing is there's going to be free wine from Sonoma.
If you have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, working that out. Free is the strong word. Working that out.
It's a difficult question to answer because we're deep in the planning phase at the moment. And what we're very nervous about doing is making bold claims that we then find we can't pull off. So I'll share with you a couple of things that we're thinking about addressing, as long as you promise not to hold us to it. But know that we're going to use our best efforts to try and pull some of this stuff off. One of the big issues that we have to deal with is transportation. So it's great that this is a Bay Area Super Bowl, but the reality is that the activities during the week leading up to Super Bowl will happen here in the city, San Francisco. The game happens out in Santa Clara. There'll be a lot of out-of-town visitors, a lot of NFL family people in town have to move between those two locations. One of the challenges that you have with an event like Super Bowl is that you don't build a whole lot of stuff for it. You basically make the best use of what's available. It's not like the Olympics where you have 12 years to plan, you can build a new railway line or build a new venue. You basically have to use what's available. So, and one of the realities is here in the Bay Area is that our transportation system, public transportation system, is not the best in the world. So we have to use what we've got available. But having said that, there's been a real, I've been amazed at the commitment from various agencies in the Bay Area, transportation, air quality, kind of people, that I must admit I didn't even know existed 6 months ago. They've just kind of come out of the woodwork and said, hey, this is an amazing opportunity for us to use Super Bowl as a way to get this whole transportation thing moving in the right direction. And so we're hoping that we can supplement the Super Bowl fleet, for want of a better word, with some renewable-based transportation. Things like electric buses, hydrogen fuel cell buses, cars, those types of things that would at least again be a symbolic of what's possible by just looking at things differently and embracing a new way of doing stuff. And that also, in the process, reduce our carbon footprint. Next to that, things like generators. You walk into events where you see the big smelly diesel generator parked behind the tent that's making a noise. And so we're also looking to see whether we can bring some technology to bear as a result of the Super Bowl that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And basically that technology can be applied across industry, from these kind of generators are used in road repairs to construction sites to big events. So some kind of new stationary power technology that will be developed specifically for the Super Bowl and then have a life after Super Bowl. So those are the kind of things we're looking at. Time is against us. There's 400 and something days until the event. It's not very long to develop a new technology for a stationary power system. But the people that we're talking to, Bay Area Air Quality Management District, people CalStar, the CA Fuel Partnership, these kind of organizations really have this as an important part of their agenda and see the Super Bowl as a great opportunity to showcase what's possible and to use it as a demonstration project for how to do things differently. So that's 3 examples in one category of some of the stuff that we're looking to do.
Excellent, Carissa. What are you excited about?
Good job. Yeah.
The food, the wine, the opportunity to educate people about it.
I think that is a really big deal. I mean, I think the fact that we partnered at all is a big deal, and the fact that you guys were seeking and having the conversation about sustainability. We do get approached, not always by the Super Bowl, often the Super Bowl come to town, but we get approached by a lot of folks to work with them on sponsorships. I mean, finding wine partners isn't always hard, right, when you're in the wine industry, but to find someone that was connected in wanting to support sustainable food and wine as part of the conversation and support sustainable beverages. I think it's going to be a really big deal, and I think the biggest part of that, I think we can make a huge impact, just like you said, in those 10 days leading up to Super Bowl, where we're going to see over 1 million people coming through sort of San Francisco and experiencing the history of the Super Bowl, as well as kind of building excitement for the big game. Our plans are to be there serving Sonoma County wines as part of that experience and bring some of our chef partners. Sonoma County's big farm to table, whether it's food or wine. Vineyard to bottle is now our new terminology for that. So vineyard to bottle and farm to table. But we will have our chef partners and our winemakers as part of that experience. We'll support what you're doing and support our own initiative up there. So that's really where we're going to connect.
All right. Your turn. Who's ready? Jan in the back, and then we'll go with you.
Hey guys. So sustainability at TriplePundit for us is the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. And the Super Bowl doesn't have the best reputation for social issues, at least in terms of women and.
You're talking about the NFL or the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl, the advertising.
Okay.
And I want to know if this Super Bowl sustainability committee is looking at all at the social side to deliver.
Yeah. So you might recall that I mentioned that 25% of all the sponsorship that we raise is going into a thing called the 50 Fund, which is a 501c3 that we've set up specifically to support our legacy program from Super Bowl 50. It's very much focused on the social side of things. It's going to be launched this week. Is that right? I think it's been launched later this week, so I don't want to. 2 weeks' time. So I don't want to spill the beans in terms of what the focus is going to be, but there'll be a significant amount of money in that fund that will go to support high-performing Bay Area non-profits that are addressing social as well as environmental issues, with a particular focus on a certain sector of the community. You know, just to step aside for a second, it's important to understand the different stakeholders or parties that are involved in putting on the Super Bowl. The NFL are ultimately the owners of the Super Bowl. It's their property. They are an organization that's existed for many years and will exist for many years going forward. You know, they're responsible for managing the league, their leagues and the teams, and they have their own corporate social responsibility programs and things that they do. The Super Bowl is a separate entity that's almost like a subset of that. Super Bowl happens once a year, it happens in a different city every year. And so it's really incumbent upon the host committee to make the decisions together with the NFL as to what they want to support that's relevant in their local area. And so the things that we'll be supporting are things that have the greatest relevance to the Bay Area, that we think can leave the greatest legacy, that can make the biggest difference here, and positively impact the most people. Without getting into any specifics, because I'll leave that till the launch in a couple of weeks' time. But for us, being net positive is very much about the social, the environmental, and the economic piece. You know, the environmental piece is kind of an easy default to talk about. The social piece for us is just as important. You know, how we go about delivering the event and the impact that it has, the footprint that we leave on this event from a social perspective is really important going forward. So we will be addressing all of those issues.
Hi, Julie Kelleher. I work at Oregon Climate and I go to graduate school. So my question, as somebody growing up in the Bay Area, was it your decision as a Super Bowl committee to have half of the events up here in San Francisco and half or in the actual game in Santa Clara, or was it decided by the NFL or somebody? And then along that same line, was it a fan conscious decision, or was it a location kind of base? Is it more you think we get more people, and some of the events are up here instead of like in San Jose, which is a lot closer? And just kind of how, depending on who made those decisions, how did you decide to focus on transportation instead of cutting down on transportation, trying to make it more sustainable, spread out across the Bay Area?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, if you think back to what I said a little earlier on, there was a competitive bidding situation. So we had to compete against other cities in order to secure Super Bowl 50 for the Bay Area. And our strategy was to, rather than focus on just one city, was to make it a Bay Area-wide initiative. So it's almost incidental that the games happen in Santa Clara and the majority of the family activities are happening in San Francisco because they have to happen somewhere. But our focus when you think about Super Bowl 50 is very much from a Bay Area perspective. We want all 9 counties, all 101 cities in the Bay Area to be able to participate, touch, feel, benefit from Super Bowl 50 in some way. And so that was a very conscious decision that we wanted to do that. And we understand that that comes with some costs. So the transportation piece is a negative impact of that decision. But we think that the positive impacts of taking that decision where the whole Bay Area can benefit outweighs the negative part of the transportation. And that's part of where the name net positive comes from. If you think about it like a math equation, you know, a net positive Super Bowl is doing more good than bad, recognizing that we're not perfect. It's naive to think that anybody or any organization is perfect. But on balance, we're doing more good than bad, and actively looking for ways to do positive. So I think that was a conscious decision that we took. We put a proposal to the NFL, they accepted it, they embraced it. We have an amazing asset in the new stadium, the new Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. I mean, it's the first LEED Gold football stadium in the world at opening. I don't know if any of you have been out there, but it's, let's put the performance of the team aside for a second. The stadium is amazing. It's got all the bells and whistles that you could want from the stadium, not only from a sustainability perspective, but from a technology perspective. The kind of food they serve there, the kind of experience that you have there, it's awesome. But yes, there are still the cars. There's a traffic jam for cars trying to get out of there, which is the same for every stadium in the world. So I think it's a balance. Again, it's naive to think that you're going to get everything 100% perfect. But as long as your intentions are correct and you are serious about doing more good than harm and trying to mitigate wherever there are negatives, I think that's okay. And so that's our strategy, and that's what we're sticking to.
Follow up and then in the back.
So I'll follow up to that. I know you guys said that you want to kind of take this as like a starting point for the next couple 50 years of Super Bowls. I know the Bay Area kind of got sucker punched with the 49ers been moving Santa Clara, and just all the fans from up here having to now go down there, and it's this big transportation issue. Are you planning on doing anything with the 49ers specifically on trying to keep this green transportation going in the future for regular season games, or is it more just you guys are focused on the next 50 Super Bowls?
So we're focused on the 50th Super Bowl. We're not spending any time thinking about Super Bowl 51, I promise you. Because it'll be somewhere else. But that's a really good idea. I mean, I think one of the things that we want to see happen is we want to see positive legacies from this event. So if through this process, I mean, say for example, we're able to get 10% of the fleet that we use, the transportation fleet that we use for Super Bowl 50 electrified. Okay? That's electric buses that will be here in the Bay Area that wouldn't have come here otherwise. They would have gone somewhere else in California or somewhere else in the US. But they'll be here now and they'll stay here. So that's a positive legacy that hopefully those buses will be used as part of the transportation system. And that's a really interesting idea that maybe there's an opportunity to create some kind of 49ers transportation system that supplements the existing transportation system in a low carbon way to get people down to the venue. It's a really good idea. Take that up.
And I imagine you'd probably be learning the opposite as well, right? I mean, we've got a year. I went down to the Cal Oregon game, and I had all the time getting there. I biked there. It was kind of hilarious. I found out that they closed the bike trail about a mile from the stadium during game days. So I wrote a rant about it, and apparently there's talk of changing it. But despite that, the point is that I'm guessing that as these kinks are worked out with all these games, you'll be watching that. You'll be learning a little bit about, with the 49ers experience and some of the other events and so on. So
the first, just as an example of that, the first game, the opening game of the stadium, I believe it took them something like 2 hours and 20 minutes to get the last car out of the parking lot. They're now down to just over an hour. Okay, so that's progress.
in the back, and then we'll run.
So you guys have done a great job covering the economics and the infrastructure aspect of sustainability. What about the personas? Like, ultimately, it's entertainment. Have you identified, athletes who are actually living in sustainability, living the lifestyle, like they're going to do PSAs? Is that part of it? Because I mean, you think of NFL, it's a tough lifestyle, right? So how many NFL players actually live a green lifestyle? I'm just curious, is there maybe that piece of it?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? There are a lot of. I think you'll find that there are a lot of athletes that are supportive of the social piece of the equation. Many of them have their own foundations or charities, and they support all sorts of issues, social issues, but very few of them have come out in support of the environment. You can probably count them on less than one hand. And is Andrew Ferguson the NHL player, the hockey player? I think he plays for the Canucks. He's a guy who for the last 10 years has stood on an environmental platform as an athlete. Very few others have. So yeah, I think that's something that you need to let happen naturally. We're certainly not out there lobbying or canvassing or touting for athletes to come and support our sustainability program. If that's something they want to do because they believe in it and it's real to them and they want to support it, that's great. We're welcome. But we can do it. We think it's strong enough to do it without them. Our whole communication strategy will be very content and story rich. We've got 52 weeks of opportunity leading up to Super Bowl to tell stories of how we're making Super Bowl 50 a sustainable event. It doesn't have to be on the back of a flashy athlete.
You get Obama to do this.
I want to say something though. I mean, the thing we've learned, and what I would suggest, the fact that you guys are putting a stake in the ground, this is what we learned, putting a stake in the ground, you do inspire people to change. And so the fact that they're now going to, those two teams that show up that day, whether the 49ers or not, so, those two teams that show up that day are going to have a different perception of sustainability when it comes to something that matters very much to them, that they're very passionate about, than they did before that. So, I think you can't help but make change if it's one person and that person is influential. So, I think you can't underestimate, maybe they don't all show up to be the spokesperson day one, but certainly they're gonna notice something is different about the Super Bowl, I believe. And I think their consumers are going to be talking, their fans are going to be talking about something being different. And I think that alone, you have to start, right? You have to start the conversation. So if you can move one person in that direction that has some influence and motivates kids and their parents to do change, I mean, that's one, because that's how it all starts. So I think, maybe they don't all show up day one, but I assume you're going to hear some pretty great, powerful stories coming out of it.
Eventually we get the players involved. I love that idea. Mark?
First of all, thank you for putting together like the big thing of sustainability, wine, and the Super Bowl. Those are my three favorite things. And my question relates actually Nick, to one of your comments that I'm encouraged to follow what you say. You said how some wine producers actually don't, maybe they grow organically, they don't say it because they're worried that people kind of think it's not as good. And I've also heard from the Super Bowl, I don't remember exactly the commercial, but in previous years there have been politically charged Super Bowl commercials that have paid the money and required them, I think we move on, raise $5 million for 30 second spot, and the Super Bowl company said, no, we're not going to air it because it's too politically charged. So I'm curious just about, is there a it's kind of a backlash question. Is there a backlash against sustainable wine? Is there a backlash against sustainability advertising in the Super Bowl?
And we should also cover the sustainability is not necessarily political. So, I mean,
yeah,
but still, the question still stands.
Where does that come in?
But yeah, right.
Well, I'll tackle the sort of that notion of organic. I think, again, consumers have a perception about wine. I mean, you're going to feel one way about Cabernet Sauvignon and something different about Chardonnay. So I like sports. Folks get really engaged with wine. They're very brand loyal. They like certain great varietals. And so I think historically we've just seen there has been this notion of, does organic change the wine? And you get that idea of don't mess with my product, right? If I've been drinking this Chardonnay from this producer for 20 years and I love it, and it's my Thanksgiving wine, don't mess with it, right? I think that's probably the perception more than anything. So I think what sustainability has allowed us to do is because, again, part of it's education, again, part of why having other meaningful brands, properties, organizations step up and sort of break through. I mean, for us, if you're doing looking at your business and your vineyard and your winemaking from a total of 200 plus different ways, you're going to have better wine. The quality is going to be better because you've spent more time thinking about each vine, the amount of water that's put on there, what you're doing for any sort of pest management, how your workers, how they feel when they're out there in your vineyard navigating it, again, where you're sourcing your bottles from. All of those decisions are going to equal a better product. They can't help but not equal a better product. And so I think we're asking consumers to care about the things we're doing because it matters. It matters at least for our kind of sustainability and having agriculture stick around. But in the end, you're going to get a better wine. And that's part on us, on me, on the winemakers, on the growers to get that message out. Is that the quality comes with that. And so I think we're hoping to get over that backlash. And we have folks like Whole Foods and Costco and a lot of Walmart even, all these other retail brands stepping up and starting to require and ask the question about how is the wine made and where do those grapes come from. And so you're seeing kind of this convergence of hopefully consumers caring more and retailers that are delivering and being part of that messaging.
So I actually don't know how to answer your question because it's like quite a deep question if you think about it too carefully. But maybe just in two ways. Firstly, sustainability and being net positive talks to who we are as an organization, as the host community. Okay, it's part of our DNA. It's not something that we're doing as a marketing exercise or as an add-on, it's how we want to operate. So we keep
And you might make that distinction that the host committee is not the NFL. So
the NFL owns the Super Bowl. They basically trust us with the responsibility of raising all the money, doing all the planning organization so that they can arrive to host the event. So that's an important distinction. But as the host committee, being net positive is part of who we are. Okay, it's part of our DNA. And so we believe in it. If you hear our CEO Keith Bruce talk about it, he talks about it in that way. Okay? But this is who we are. It informs the way we operate as an organization, the decisions we take. So that's the first half of the question. The second half of the answer is the Super Bowl or football in America is really interesting because it's kind of like it kind of reflects American society in all respects. It's not like underwater hockey that's played in one town, one state, somewhere that might reflect the views of that particular town with respect to underwater hockey. football is something that is America's national pastime. So the football fan is going to mirror from an aspect of the American consumer in terms of their attitudes towards sustainability. So there are going to be some people who get it, the majority of the people who live in California. It's something that, particularly here in the Northern California, it resonates with us. For people living in other parts of the country, sustainability is maybe climate change, maybe what is that nonsense? It doesn't exist. So it's kind of difficult to answer that question because, of those complexities. But I would say that, we're attracting partners who share our values. So, the Sonoma wine growers sitting here today. There are other brands who come on board for the same reasons, because they're happy to align themselves with an organization that is trying to deliver Super Bowl in a certain way based on a certain set of principles and values, and they resonate with that. There may be brands who decided not to sponsor us because of that. I don't know. We haven't heard from them because they haven't contacted us. Okay, but I think at the end of the day, like attracts like, and together we'll reinforce this message, and we'll probably piss off some people along the way. But that's okay, because as long as we get more people engaged and understanding the sustainability debate, then that's great. Not losing sight of the fact that at the end of the day, our primary responsibility is to deliver an amazing Super Bowl. It's a game of football. We need to get those 70,000 people into the stands safely, allow them to watch a great game, make sure the lights don't go out, allow the broadcast to broadcast the game to 110 million people. That's our primary responsibility. The sustainability piece is how we go about doing it. And that's the approach that we're taking. And we might not everyone might like it, but that's how.
In the back committee.
I just want to top on that topic, and thank you so much, guys, for putting this at such a high level. I work as a sustainability consultant in South America, and with these topics, I even 10% of this is impossible. So thank you, guys. But thinking that the advertisement on the Super Bowl is so huge, and it's what people talk forever. Maybe the game was really bad, but people talks for weeks. Is advertisement. I kind of seeing that all the sustainability is kind of reaching that people that's going to come here, or going to be here, is going to be in the local. But how are we gonna, you guys gonna need to filter that out to the big masses, that billion people that are going to be watching the Super Bowl, they're going to be inspired by California outside of the United States. If you're gonna maybe try to make the brands talk about those topics on advertisement, it's gonna be just maybe using these platforms that maybe greenwashing, I don't know.
I love that. I always fantasize about what I would do with 30 seconds to Super Bowl ad time. Anyway, but what's the answer? How is this going to filter out beyond what's going on in the local area? It may be limited what the host committee can actually do, but do you have any vision to what the Super Bowl itself is going to do to go beyond this?
Sure. So we like the word most. Okay, so we're going to be the most giving Super Bowl ever. We're going to be the most participated Super Bowl ever because of it's been this Bay Area focus. And we're also going to be the most shared Super Bowl ever. Okay, so social media is an important part of our everyday lives and the way that we communicate with each other. And as the host committee, we have a very ambitious plan and a very achievable plan to really be the most shared Super Bowl ever, and to weave into that messaging over a 12-month period. So it's not just on Super Bowl Sunday, but for the 12 months. In fact, it started already today. Stephanie Martin, our Vice President of Communications, is here. We launched our new website today, so you can go and have a look at that, sfsuperbowl.com.
That's okay, Super Bowl.
sfsuperbowl.com. Okay. So there's 12 months of opportunity to engage with people, firstly through the social media piece. We hope that some of our partners will help us to amplify that by adding their own layer of storytelling to the storytelling that we'll be doing. And maybe one of them will even write that check for that ad during the broadcast. And maybe the message won't be about selling beers or cars or banks. It'll be about selling something to do with the sustainable future. That's the vision that we have. We just need to find the $5 million to buy the 30 seconds spot. So maybe we up to the $5 million.
Sustainable wine ad? You see it?
I wish. So for farmers. So many of you have seen the P&L of a farm. We probably won't be the ones stepping up, but for that big Super Bowl ad, although my growers have already fantasized about what their video would look like. I've heard a lot of that. But I think that's absolutely right. I mean, you rely on, you're attracting, because of your mission, sustainability mission, partners that are like-minded and have lots of access to social media and consumers. And I think about, we have 550 wineries in Sonoma County. We have 1,800 vineyards. So amplify that, take that sustainability message with our partnership and amplify it through our channels, our wineries channels, in our wineries when folks visit, and that's a year and onward afterwards. So I think, when you start to check out the Super Bowl when online or on any social media, you're gonna see a plethora of your partners, your sponsors stepping up and communicating that message. And I think that's where the conversation ends. I mean, we would love to do videos, it's just gonna be on YouTube, not on the Super Bowl. So unfortunately.
Maybe we can crowdfund an ad.
Let's do it, let's do it.
Let's go with you and you, and we'll go into quick answer mode because we're getting close to that hour. So.
Yeah, thanks for your time. This is really interesting and incredible opportunity, obviously. I guess I have a two-part question, which is, first of all, you mentioned net positive, and I guess I'm just curious as to what sort of metrics and guidelines and goals you're looking at across those pillars. And then I guess the second part is, can you clarify a little bit of your situation and the other stakeholders? Who makes the final decision on 10% of that transportation being? Is it the committee, or is it, do you have to go to the NFL and say, these are the things we've laid out, this is what we want to accomplish, and they have to approve it? Or does CBS approve the ads? Who makes the final say in what advertisements go out, as well as what logistics happen?
I think this is one question.
Sorry. It's okay.
That's fine.
Sorry.
So what was your first question?
First question is, what kind of metrics?
How do you define net positive? How do you measure?
So there is no net positive measurement tool that you can pull off the shelf for a sports event. So we're going to develop something with one of our partners. I can't share who yet, but one of our partners has stepped forward and said, we'd like to help you to develop that model that will allow you to actually, one, establish your benchmark, and then two, measure and evaluate as we go along to be able to report against how we performed against those goals that we set ourselves. So there'll be we'll be able to make a net positive claim, validated or backed up by hard facts once Super Bowl 50 is over. So I'm really excited about that as a starting point. We're busy trying to figure all that stuff out at the moment. And in terms of who decides what, the NFL are our partners, as the host committee, the NFL are our partners. And they are the owners of the Super Bowl. And so there's a very respectful relationship between us and them in terms of us doing stuff that we believe is in our mutual interest. Jack Grove, who's the director of the environment for the NFL, is co-chair of the sustainability subcommittee, by way of example. And Jack and I develop the plan together, we discuss everything together. There's some stuff that he'll focus on doing, his activities, and some stuff we'll focus on. But together we agree on what the best approach is, and that applies across the whole organization. And the NFL are, they're very supportive of what we're doing. They're very excited about it. It's a new space for them. Although they've been doing sustainability for the last 20 odd years, from a tactical perspective, putting up some solar panels, doing some offsetting, doing a waste program, they've never taken, no host committee has taken a holistic, strategic view to sustainability to the extent that we are. So they're excited about what we can add. Through this process, we're going to make the product more valuable. So they're really engaged and interested in what we're doing. And CBS paid a lot of money for the broadcast rights, so they make the decisions as to what goes on, and we don't have any say in that. I'm sure the NFL and CBS discuss it, but it's got very little to do with us.
Let's go with you. Quick answer mode, and then next.
Real quick, it's more maybe a comment than a question. Justin Stone, I'm also a Presidio graduate and working with Alan Hershowitz on his work in sustainability class. And everything you bring up makes perfect sense to me, and it's wonderful. And when you're telling those stories, I guess if you've got a national audience, and California is already seen as this special place where, of course, these things are happening. And I'd love to see it normalized. So when you're telling your stories of local food, maybe it's not just California, but the Vineyards in New York or the Gators Stadium in Florida, so that people start to see that this stuff is happening all over, not just at the Super Bowl in California, where of course it should happen, but highlight the other good things that are going on in sports as well as the local movement.
Can you give us a short answer? Was Pat told that the Philadelphia Eagles are the greenest team in the NFL? I don't know.
Certainly the first, and I guess a role model. Yeah, we can't tell everybody's story. It's complicated enough as it is. We can tell our story and provide an inspiration to others to follow. The Green Sports Alliance has a role to play in telling other people's stories. But we will try and integrate stuff from other places. There's a thing called Taste of NFL, which is a food-based experience fundraising event. And what they do is they fly in each NFL team has a celebrity chef that flies in, and they do like a culinary experience. And I've already had a discussion with them about, bring your sustainable wine with you from your region, or your locally produced food with you from your region as part of what you present, so that message starts to come in, that it doesn't only happen here, it happens in other places as well. But we're not going to headline the Philadelphia Eagles in our sustainability message unless they're in the final. There is a relevant story to tell about them and how it's helped them to get to the final. If it's the Seahawks, there's a relative story to tell about how sustainability is helping to be competitive to get there.
I would say you have to balance, the economic piece of this to support our own local chefs and food purveyors and businesses and winemakers in our backyard. I think there's a balance between normalizing it and making it accessible to everyone, making it permissible to everyone, but at the same time, really focusing on the economic piece that we want to bring business here. We want it in our, in our 9 counties, right around here. And I certainly want it up in Sonoma County. I know that, because I know that's important. The wine industry, 60% of our gross metro product in Sonoma County is driven by the wine industry, 13.4 billion annually. And so that goes away, there's going to be a world of hurt up in Sonoma County. So I hope, and what we're excited about, that it's here in our backyard. And so I think there's a real important economic piece of this that is sustainability as a big chunk. So
let's go with you, and then we'll wrap it up, unless anyone else is. All right, 1, 2.
I sounded like a sponsor there.
My name is John Paul. I went to Cal, and it's been fascinating watching what's been going on between the relationship between the football team and the school. But that's another matter. I'm just wondering who you either would have liked to or would like to partner with that you haven't been able to for one reason or another, and why, if there's anybody or any kind of partner, maybe a type or a function that you haven't been able to have work out thus far.
I don't think there's anybody that we've approached and said no because of sustainability.
Right.
Having said that, there are many brands that we'd love to have involved as partners that we just haven't got to from a capacity issue. The host committee team is 17 people, and that's probably 10 people more than there have been for the last 6 months. So it's a small team. We probably won't grow more than 25 people, although we'll have like 5,000 volunteers that we'll need to manage during the Super Bowl week of the game. So it's a small team. So who would I like to talk to? If anybody's out there from a solar company, I'd love to have a discussion with you. So from anyone from Solar City or from Tesla Batteries who's out there wants to be involved, who else is? Renewable fuels. It'd be great to get the rest of that fleet running on biofuels or renewable fuels. Anybody from what's a renewable fuel?
Solar.
Fuel company, solar biofuels. Solera or that kind of stuff. That'd be great. Love to talk to Whole Foods, the Whole Foods agenda. They're on our list. So there's no shortage of companies that we've got space for. We've got about, I think it's about 20, 25 partners already committed and signed up. A lot of the big Bay Area companies supporting this because they want it to be successful. But as a host committee, we've got space for a lot of partners. And phones we're always answer the phone for somebody who wants to become our partner and help us to tell our story and deliver a better event.
Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, so I have a question. I know that you said you did America's Cup and then Super Bowl is in Santa Clara and you're from Sonoma County. Is there a reason that you guys picked the Bay Area? Is it because these events are coming here anyway? I mean, you obviously did Sonoma County line and Aussie Bay Area. Is it that it was an opportunity, or is it because it is such a sustainable area, it's a sustainable this area? And do you think that the efforts you guys are doing could happen in other cities?
So when you said chose to come, you mean personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a conscious decision to come to the Bay Area because I think of anywhere in the world to showcase this concept, there isn't a better place than the Bay Area. I mean, if you just look at our waste management system, our waste management system in the city of San Francisco and ecology, I mean, it's probably the most developed, if not one of the most developed waste management systems of any city in the world. So with the support of an organization like Ecology, it's possible to have a zero waste event in San Francisco. That might not be possible in Phoenix, just because the infrastructure is not there. Like I said earlier, with an event like this, you have to work with what you've got. And so it was a conscious decision to come here. The host committee is made up of people who are Californians through and through. They go back many generations. There's a history. Your family have been here for a long time, they're over 49ers. So they're here for their own reasons, but they're part and parcel of the community. So I know that answers your question, but I think it's easier to get this stuff done here than it is in many other places in the world. But hopefully, by getting it done here, we can find the inspiration to give other people the courage, other cities the courage to also try to adopt some of this stuff and to see that it is actually good business at the end of the day.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, thanks so much for coming. We can give a quick round of applause for our panelists. And anyone in the room, please into the hub. If you haven't been to the hub before, that's where you're sitting right now. The hub is our office and our community, and it's a shared workspace and incubator. And if you have questions about it, Carrie in the back, who's waving, is happy to answer those questions. We will be hanging out for a wee bit. If you want to continue the conversation, there's plenty more beer, so please do so. And some wine. Yes. Hello to Dakota. Yes, absolutely, some wine as well. And so hang with us for a little bit, and we hope to see you next month when we are going to be joined by Autodesk and hopefully IDEO to talk about design and creativity and what its role is in sustainability. Thanks.
Like I say, my mom's a bottle at a time, one grower at a time. One.